Welcome into Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Request your new patient appointment online. Mention your birthday man Extreme, $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Sponsored by Jets Pizza of Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, and Goodlettsville. Let's get Jets. Well, what an active weekend in eight-man football. We're now into week 7 of 11. Well, past week 7, going into week 8 of 11. And out of the six games that happened out of the 6 games of the teams we directly cover, seven total of the ones we're going to mention is a lot of high scoring, a lot of one-sided games. There are a few close ones here and there, but I had a weekend off, handled calling stuff for my youth sports league and everything. But you guys had a fun night. By the way, producer Jack, let's just get this out of the bat. How did it come about that you did a dash with Emmanuel Dang? How did that come about?
You're welcome.
So, a little context to the situation. I did play football back in high school. I was in TSIAA in the 6A region. Played with Blackman, Oakland, Riverdale, all of them. So
don't flex or nothing, bro.
No flex whatsoever. But I was a skill position just like Dang was. So I saw he was the best athlete on that field. We all know the guy's an absolute athlete. So I was like, well, it's been a couple years. I want to see how I match up compared to a guy that's basically an all-star, if we're going to be honest.
He is.
Facts.
So I was like, hey, let me get to know him. I was like, hey, do you want to race or something like that? By the way, Coach was very hectic. He was very panicky whenever he saw us racing. But I feel like with some cleats I could have beat him. But, very nice.
Rest in peace
very
to
nice
your
guy.
phone.
Didn't the coach say he was going to kill James if Dang got injured?
Oh, that is a James question.
I believe that was a statement. That's more of a Zach statement, though.
But no, it was just
throwing me under the bus.
Thing.
I'm not even in here. Don't remember much about Friday night.
Yeah. How about how about this guy calling the game on Friday through what he was going through, man? How about this
Making
guy?
it happen.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Well, 7 games happened this weekend. 6 of the games were out of the teams we covered, but here's the situation. The playoff picture, we'll get to that in a second. It's a lot more formed. It's a lot more form-fitting with the games that happen, and it's going to be even more form-fitting going into 2 weeks from now as the playoff picture becomes more clear for the TSIAA. But let's get right into it. We'll start with the game of the teams that we do not directly cover, but it's between 2 teams that we very well may see in Panama City Beach, Florida. And it is the Ezekiel Academy team colliding with Evangel Christian School Lightning. It's Ezekiel Knights, I'm pretty sure.
I was about to say there was a huge level of disrespect there. It's the Ezekiel Academy Knights.
It's the Knights.
Thank you very
it's one of the teams that we don't cover. That's why I don't know
but
their
we do
mascot
keep
off the
an
top of my
eye
head.
on them because it's a very relevant team.
More so you keep an eye on them. I look at
I do.
Here and
I
there.
do.
I look at them here and
Would you like to know how the game went?
65-34, the Knights tamed the Lightning, and it's James. I'll go with you on this. It's could be a preview of the national championship at Panama City Beach, but that also could be a preview for the ASCI state championship for 8-man football in Alabama. But it shows how with Evangel, when you lose a lot of your senior leaders at the helm, it's very tough to fully recover from that because coach can only go so far. But that's also a testament to Ezekiel Academy, holding a complete shutout against the Freedom Cowboys. Most of the teams they've played, they're pretty sure undefeated right now.
They are undefeated. Yes.
Undefeated, and that streak continues for them.
Yeah, I mean it was just a dominating performance, of course, for Evangel Christian. Keeping an eye out for their quarterback who got hurt Friday night. That was part of the factor that went into it. But even besides that, I mean, Ezekiel still put up 28 points in the first quarter, and then from there, 7 in the second, nothing in the third, and 30 in the fourth quarter. So without those 30 in the fourth quarter, it really would have been a lot closer game. But just a dominant performance by the Knights down there playing in the ACSC, and I believe it's them, Evangel Christian, Lighthouse Homeschool, and East Coast Homeschool, a 4-team conference, and then you have the other conference, the CFA. But that's got some interesting storylines in it as well. But I digress. But yeah, I mean, just a dominant performance by Ezekiel, and I've said it once, I'll say it again. Whether it happens in Dayton, whether it happens in Florida, whether it happens after both those tournaments, we need Tennessee Heat Ezekiel Academy. That game has to happen.
Somehow it has to happen.
And I mean, we've said multiple times on the show the two top teams we've seen so far this year are Tennessee Heat and Evangel. And for Ezekiel to do what they did to Evangel just proves how talented they really are.
Proves the talent for sure. And for Evangel Christian, they've got a big non-conference game at home, hosting the Tennessee Heat, which is going to be an exciting game. And as for Ezekiel Academy, they have a collision with Success Unlimited Academy,
We
which
got absolutely whooped by the Freedom Cowboys Friday night.
Yep, we'll talk about that. Actually, right now, 50 to 14, Success Unlimited Academy now at a 1-2 record. It took that loss against the Freedom Cowboys, and Freedom bouncing back because with several losses they've had that have been very one-sided. It's a good motivational factor for the Freedom Cowboys, including their player of the week from a few weeks ago, which we'll get his Chick-fil-A cards to him soon. But for the Freedom Cowboys to get another bounce-back win like that, it's a good push for them going down the stretch into potentially to Florida.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Ezekiel here. Last night, I know we're talking about Freedom. Ezekiel, last night was the most points. Obviously, Evangel was one of the better teams they played. All season, the first 5 games of the season, they allowed 2 touchdowns. 1 in the first game, 1 in the game right before Evangel, and they had 3 shutouts in a row, but including the Freedom Cowboys, who got back in that win column Friday night. A great job by Josh Butler and company to just absolutely dominate down there in Huntsville and get back in that win column and maybe get some momentum rolling after really playing some tough games and taking some tough losses, including to the Tennessee Heat last week.
Yeah, and the Tennessee Heat pushing on, and with the Freedom Cowboys, they've got looking at their schedule.
North River Christian,
Yep.
they got another home game.
Yep.
North River. It's a good chance for the Cowboys to get back to 500 at 4-4. North River coming in at 1-3. North River is from that other conference in Alabama called the CFA, which includes Russell Christian and a couple other teams that kind of interact with.
Yeah, and we mentioned it. Success Unlimited Academy at 1-2. They go on the road against the 7-0 Ezekiel Academy Knights.
That'd be ugly.
It's a good thing we don't cover that team. Maybe some Success Unlimited people are listening in. Who knows? But
I'm sorry, folks. It's going to be ugly.
He's just being realistic.
Save the gas money.
He's just trying to be realistic. Wow.
Ezekiel has a fantastic broadcast with BP1 Sportsnet.
Yep.
You cannot put the money out to drive to Montgomery. Instead, just watch the BP1 Sportsnet broadcast. They did a great job Friday night with the game against Evangel. They kill it every time they come on. Just watch it. There you go.
And Freedom continues with that game against a CFA team going into this Friday. As for the teams that were within the state of Tennessee, we start first with still no word officially on if Sacred Heart is eligible for the postseason. We're waiting on official word from that. We know that the roster submission deadline was extended to October 1st, which may or may not allow them to be in the playoffs. Unsure about that, but as far as we are playing we're going along as if they are eligible for the postseason. So if that's the case, Sacred Heart is confirmed they're going to the Division II playoffs at this point. They've got one more game in the North that they could win against South Haven, but with Lighthouse, South Haven, and Christian Community all getting one win in the North, all of them are locked in for the playoffs. But regardless of that, 52-38, Lighthouse got their first win of the season, and it was a tough one on the road at Sacred Heart to get that victory. And for Lighthouse, it shows with tough teams that you have to face against in their schedule. You just look at what they had. They had South Haven, then at Christian Community, so it's South Haven at Christian Community, then rescheduled to collide with Sacred Heart, and Actually, only two games. I'm looking at the helmet schedule and inaccurate there. So Lighthouse had their game at Riverside, then hosting South Haven, and to come out from a bye week against Sacred Heart and get that win, especially on the road in Jackson.
And Lighthouse had to go on the road for South Haven as well. That game got moved to Springfield.
It got moved to
so
Springfield.
So they have yet to
yeah.
play a home game.
Yeah, their only home game is against the Tennessee Heat going forward. But make that three away games, not in a row because they had a bye week in between one, but three away games for them to get a victory from it, and in that fashion too, 52-38. I mean, kudos to Lighthouse and Coach Hollis.
Well, and for Lighthouse, a little bright spot there in a very dark season where things did not look promising for them. Always good to get in that win column, get that one W under your belt, keep from being winless. And if you're Sacred Heart, look, you've got a couple more tries coming up, a couple more chances. You've got Bowling Green at home. You've got Freedom at home. You go to Ezel Harding, so you've got some chances to win a game coming up. You got to keep trying. I mean, they put up, and honestly, that it seems like it was a great no scoring updates from there, no stats, no information on the game despite trying. But at 52-38 seems like it was a good game.
Yeah, that seems like it was a good one.
Another thing about Lighthouse getting that win is it put them in the playoffs. And that's your goal. Just make the playoffs, and then you go from there. Because you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I mean, you could have a way more talented team, but you never know how a team is going to adjust to the pressure that the playoffs put on a player.
Yeah, that pressure. It'd be interesting to see Jamari Teague and company in that pressure against whichever South team they collide with in the postseason. With that. Now, if they pull off the win against South Haven, then it could shake things up. But at least for now, they would be number 3 seed in the North, and we'll get to that later. But
boys, does Buffalo take a loss today? By the way,
maybe. I mean, it's the second quarter. There's a lot of time.
You know who doesn't?
Trace McSorley,
the Titans. Or the Steelers.
Yeah,
True.
Titans and Steelers. They stay undefeated going
into
week 5.
That guy for Dallas. What's his name?
No, they did lose though.
Van Der Esch.
Thank you.
But they did lose.
Van Der Esch. Congratulations to Lighthouse Christian School for their first victory of the season. They have a bye week for October 9th, and then they have their first and only home game of the season hosting the Tennessee Heat on October 16th. And as for Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights, they still look for their first victory, and they got a tough one in division on the road at South Haven Christian School this next coming week.
That's a long trip.
Yeah, so that is a long trip for Sacred Heart. And speaking of long trips, Riverside in back-to-back weeks traveled back to Franklin. They got the win against Franklin Classical. They could not get the win at Jim Warren Park against Franklin Christian in FCA's homecoming game, 28-6, which was close to the score of Lancaster and Riverside in Fayetteville, but that was, of course, before went up to 58 to 50, close to the score at halftime. It was 28 to 8. They got the 2-point conversion. It was 28 to 6.
It was 28-8.
I'll tell you in just a second.
Yeah, look it up.
Oh wait,
it was
this
28.
Friday?
It was 28 to 8. No,
28 to 8
Lancaster Riverside.
Yeah.
Riverside led 28 to 8 at half.
Yep, that was at half, so it's reflective of the halftime score. But
and at halftime for FCA Riverside, it was close. I know. Let me look at the box score. That way I don't.
I thought it was 14-6.
No, it was
something like that.
14-0.
14-0. So I mean,
Riverside put up a touchdown in the fourth quarter, but got shut out for 3 straight quarters. And FCA only scored 1 touchdown each quarter, but you score a touchdown each quarter,
and your defense,
and then pitched 3 quarters of a shutout. You absolutely just shut Crutcher Ezel down. I'm assuming that's what happened, but we'll see.
Only logical thing to happen.
Yeah, it had to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had to be the case because with how Crutcher Ezel performed in that game we saw against Franklin Classical, it's one of those situations where if you shut down the main weapon for a team, then it can seriously affect them. It's just like when Lancaster played against Christian Community a few weeks ago, and of course Bragg was on the sideline with a boot, but if you figure out what their team's strength is during the game and you get to them, it just goes a long way.
Well,
But
another
for-
thing is,
Yep.
it's no secret that Crutcher Ezel is the best
No,
player.
yeah,
Best player on the field every time he steps on the field.
Mhm.
So,
I'm gonna have to go watch that film, that game, because I
but
want to know what happened with Crutcher.
so
I should have done it before.
when you're game planning like that against a player like Crutcher Ezel, when you aim to take him away, yes, he's gonna have those big plays. But what Franklin Classical didn't do is that Ezel had his big plays, but they allowed other players from Riverside to also have those big plays as well. So you're not gonna shut down Crutcher Ezel.
No.
Just throwing it out there. You're just not. He's
No.
that good of an athlete.
Well, FCA shut him
unless
down.
they did that.
Yeah, if that's the case, that FCA shut him down, or if who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
But I mean, like a big play, in my opinion, is 10, 15 yards. He's gonna get those. It's those other guys that Riverside had against Franklin Classical, where Classical just couldn't stop anyone. They just couldn't stop the offense.
Yeah, they just couldn't get it done. And Riverside only has one game left in the South, and it's poising Riverside at the moment to be positioned in the third seed in the Division I playoffs. But for Franklin Christian, it's first off, congratulations to Coach Johnson and company for an undefeated season thus far. No losses at all. And they have a bye week for October 9th. And afterwards, they have a tough one, which essentially will determine who is going to get that first round bye in the postseason, as Franklin Christian hosts Coach Jason Bragg and company and the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights on October 16th. And as for Riverside Christian, they have a bye week as well. Their final game in the South, hosting Ezel Harding. That will essentially be the tiebreaker for who hosts who gets that third slot in the playoffs as well. So it's all coming together.
Boys, if you want to see what happened with the game Friday night and potentially what happened with Crutcher Ezel, I'm gonna be going back and watching at some point. But if you go to the Franklin Christian Academy YouTube channel, the game with Riverside is still on there.
Mm-hmm. It's a chance for anybody to watch it. But
there you go.
For
Free
both
film
teams,
out there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe mentioning it on air, somebody will start making that stream private. Who knows? But
So you got 5 minutes.
yeah, you got 5 minutes. I'd rip that film from YouTube right now, James, if I were you, just so you can reference it and know what happened. But
you have 5 minutes to watch that.
you have 5
hour
minutes
plus
before it's made
football game.
private. But
facts.
but again, congratulations to Franklin Christian as they remain undefeated going into their bye week. So congratulations to them. As for the game up in Antioch, the Ezel Harding Eagles get another victory under the belt on what would have been another playoff situation game, and of course Providence ineligible for the postseason, but still another good game for Ezel Harding. 60-14 the final score, as Providence Christian Academy Lions still looking for their first win of their program history. And for Ezel Harding, one of those teams after taking a blowout loss against Franklin Christian Academy, it's definitely a good motivational factor for them going into their game against Riverside. And they've still got one more game in regards to the South for colliding with Lancaster Christian final week of the season. But for that game, it's just Coach McGee and company. They got the job done, James.
Yeah, and Providence, obviously, again, in their first year, they're going to struggle. Had a good effort against FCA. FCA was able to put them out and silence the Lions, but you're going to take your lumps, you're going to take your bruises as being a first-year program. When you're starting from scratch, Ezel Harding didn't have to start from scratch, but Ezel Harding, another team just like Freedom, just a few weeks of a row in a row of just taking your lumps and taking your whoopings, and then able to get back in the win column, get a win, and this rivalry with Providence Christian in terms of varsity football, first ever matchup, and they really started it off on the right foot, getting that win.
They got it on the right foot there, and Providence Christian, like you mentioned, struggling with their first year, but they've still got some games that are very winnable. But of course, congratulations to Ezel Harding. Bye week, then their game at Riverside Christian on October 16th, which, again, more than likely a game for clinching the number 3 seed in the playoffs. And for Providence Christian, although they don't have a postseason to look forward to, they do have they have a bye week and then 3 games on the road to look forward to, and it starts with their game at Franklin Classical School on October 16th. And for the other game that we were not present at, Lancaster Christian Academy collided at home with the Franklin Classical School Knights 54-38. A close game on paper, and one of those collisions that, of course, Lancaster needed the win to solidify their chances at number 1 seed in the South, especially with their victory over Riverside Christian. And for Classical, it was a must-needed win to get to the Division I playoffs. So unfortunately, Franklin Classical eliminated from Division I. They've still got Division II, of course, but for Lancaster, it's I don't know. Was Bragg back in the game? Because
He was.
Yes.
Is he back?
did play.
He was back in the game. He was on a boot previous week, and it definitely shows, Zachary, when you have Deuce Bragg in the game for you with Lancaster, it makes a huge difference in whether you're going to get the W or be really close to getting the loss.
Well, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. Like at all, of course, everyone knows that. The way that Deuce is able to manipulate the offense and find the routes where could slice the defense up and everything is what really makes him one of the top quarterbacks, if not the top quarterback in the league. So having him back, and even though was he 100%, James?
No,
And
he was not.
even him not being 100%, sometimes that's just a mental factor. It's like, hey guys, here we go. We got a starting quarterback back, and let's see if we can make big plays for him since he's not 100% healthy. And he's showing that he will battle for us.
Well, in Franklin Classical, it was a close game. It was 38-30 at one point, and then Lancaster able to pull away. Classical just getting slammed with the injury bug right now. I mean, the injury bug for Classical is murder hornets right now, is what it seems like.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, though, major props to Isaiah. I just full disclosure, I was super critical of the job he would do as head coach, not because of his youth, but because of, honestly, the inexperience. But major props to him for getting his guys motivated and rallying his troops to where they absolutely bust their butts for him. And they lay it all out there on the line for him. And major props to him, and the majority of his staff, just on being able to get those kind of ball. I mean, at this point, yes, they're knocked out of the playoffs, but look at their scoring summary. It's tough because they're knocked out of the playoffs by 2 points to Ezel Harding, and they got whooped pretty good by Riverside, and then losing by 2 touchdowns to Lancaster when they were only down by one touchdown, and it was close. So just major props to him for getting his team to a point where these guys can absolutely go out there and lay it all on the line.
Mm-hmm. And Classical, of course, are still looking for a postseason berth for the first time since, I believe, 2016. Either 16 or 15.
I think it was 15.
Yeah, first playoff.
Let me double check that.
But of course, they still have the Division II bracket to look forward to at the end of the year. But at the moment, they've got a 4-game stretch. They're one of the few teams not taking a bye in October 9th. I guess a bunch of schools taking a bye for fall break or other reasons. But
This week's fall break for them?
I believe so.
A lot of teams the first week. A lot of schools
Yeah.
the first week of October is.
Yeah, it's either that or first or second week of October. I
It'd
mean,
be
sometimes
near that
it
for
is,
MTSU, but
Yeah,
we don't talk
ours
about
got
that.
canceled. Hey, I mean, we're done at Thanksgiving, other than our final exams.
Okay,
so,
I'm already exhausted from schoolwork though.
I mean, yeah, I am too. But I mean, at least I get
facts.
stuff off. But you're saying
I'm not even going to school and I'm exhausted.
Yeah. If you
Do you have a fall break?
Do you have a fall break, James?
He has something
I
called,
work, son.
He has something called children.
Franklin
Yeah.
Classical, last time they were in the postseason, 24-14 loss to Christian Community at Christian Community in the first round, and then a 42-24 win over Lighthouse Christian in the consolation game.
That was 2015.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. So still another season, but Isaiah, I'm sure this will not be a one and done season. I'm sure he's going to be there for many years to come, and it just means he has a program to continue building and continue to build off of, and it'll definitely be great to see going into the future. But congratulations to Lancaster Christian. They have a bye week, and then they have a road game to determine who's going to be the #1 seed in the South against the Franklin Christian Academy Falcons. And for Classical, as mentioned, they do not take a break. Next week, they host the Christian Community School Colts in a rivalry that has occurred every year since 2008, to my knowledge.
Which game?
Classical Christian Community. I believe they played every year since the start of the conference.
You gonna make me double check this, aren't you?
I'm not making you do anything. You're just wanting to
Producer
make
Jack
sure
should be doing this homework.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm watching the fight on the field. I apologize.
Hey, producer Jack, did you get my record?
Oh snap!
Listen, I'm not responsible for doing other people's work.
But you should have pity on the man with a concussion.
Yeah.
That is
redecorate.
I did have
You
pity.
should
I set
have
up
pity on
equipment
the.
today.
You should
That
have
is
pity
true.
on the man who has a concussion for redecorating his wall.
Yeah, how about that? How about Zachary calling a game with a concussion on Friday night, guys? Let's give it up for Zachary on that. Even though I'm the only one clapping.
Which
Could've-
y'all,
could've been
so
better.
what happened was
You get a table clap. It's a half clap.
that is true. Well, I was sleeping on Wednesday night or Thursday night. I don't really remember.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, I somehow got up while I was sleeping and like headbutted the wall full on, like face first.
Like straight up Goldberg. Goldberg that wall.
Some of the paint was chipped off,
Oh,
and my
goodness.
right side of my nose is a little swollen.
Sheesh, yeah, but you guys at least had a game that was interesting, and for essentially the #1 seed in the North between the South Haven Christian School Patriots and the Christian Community School Colts in Springfield, 62-12. That collision, it just shows, James, it's looking like your predictions are about 99% accurate, the 1% being that game against Franklin Christian.
Let's see.
I'm talking about specifically South Haven, because I don't know what the percentage is on that because they're now 4 or 5 and 0.
Let me check now.
Something now.
They've lost
For
one game.
who? For who? South Haven?
South Haven, yeah.
At this point, I had them unbeaten.
You're 75% correct. For South Haven's schedule.
I thought you were talking about overall.
because it's 3 out of 4 games.
I thought you were talking about overall. Right now, I'm 20-8.
Yeah, only 8 games, and last
Well,
year you only had
only 8.
Yeah,
hate
only
to break it to you, James, but I'm 21-7.
He now knows his record. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for his record.
He knows his record now. 5 minutes ago. Hey, Jack, did you ever get my record? Oh, wait, never mind. I didn't need you to get it. I got it myself. But regardless, you guys were at that game on Friday. Of course, technical issues that are to be worked with in the future.
Technical issues would have been a step up from what we had. We had James issues.
Everything, unfortunately, domino affected for you guys, and I mean it's.
But there was a live stream
Yeah, you at least
most
got
of the
film
time
Yeah.
that the hotspot wasn't dead.
right.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't charge either.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Hey, but I mean, end of the day, South Haven got the victory at home against Christian Community, and they clinch a first-round bye. That's the first time in their program history, I believe, they have a first-round bye or host. Well, they host the playoff game for the first time last year. Because
Yeah,
of
but
the
first
number
time
2
having a
seed.
first round bye.
Yep, the first time.
And how about this for
first
South
round
Haven? They had lost 4 regular season games in a row to CCS.
Mhm.
Yes, people go, oh, well, they beat CCS in 2017 for the championship. I'm getting there.
bye. He said regular season.
Regular season. 2015, they beat CCS. They were still in TACS. So 2015, they beat CCS, win the state championship. 2017, they beat CCS in the championship. Ipso facto, if they beat CCS, there's a championship in the future for South Haven. I'm just saying that's what the track record says.
Yep, that's what.
Will
the track
history
record-
repeat itself?
Yeah, that's the question. Is history going to repeat itself and have South Haven claim first things first? They have that first round bye essentially locked. They have one more game in the North to solidify that. However, what they do have to do is get the job done in the regular season before going into the playoffs. But if they hold their destiny and go perfect the rest of the season per James's predictions, then they host a playoff game.
That
Simple
might
as
be
that,
the
but-
most complete game by a team that we've covered this year. Just from beginning to end, this total domination.
There weren't even when they were putting backups on the field, like you knew the backups were going to make some mistakes, and even the backups were showing up, dude.
I don't even remember, maybe 5 mistakes at most throughout the whole game.
Mhm.
Just
and I don't see any other teams on their schedule that are going to beat them.
the biggest play of the game, in my opinion, was when CCS scored the touchdown, and I forgot who. It was the kick.
Sorto.
Sorto, Benjamin Sorto, takes the kickoff and returns it back 50 yards for a touchdown.
By the way, I believe it was Miles Bernard for CCS had both their touchdowns.
I think
if
so.
I'm not mistaken. I think he had both of their receiving touchdowns. So
I think so.
big shout out to the freshman coming up from JV last year and making an impact.
James, what do you think? What do you think was the kryptonite for Christian community on Friday?
Youth and experience.
Simple as that.
I'm sure. Producer Jack has some thoughts and sound off, but that to me, those are really some of the critical things that were going on Friday night.
And Christian community has one game left in the North against Lighthouse. The same situation for South Haven when they host Sacred Heart on Friday. But if South Haven wins on Friday, they're number 1 seed in Christian community for the first time since this will be a history thing. First time in a while that Christian.
Can I be controversial and say when South Haven wins on Friday night?
Sure, you can, but
Okay.
you
But
stick
that's
with
your
your
prediction.
predictions.
Yeah.
You stick with predictions
All right.
preseason.
Who are they playing?
Sacred Heart. But anyways, if assuming that South Haven stays the course, goes to your predictions, they'll host a first round bye. That'll be the first time that Christian community has not had a first round bye. Of course, since the 16 playoff system started, but that'll be the first time that they're playing in the second round without being the host since probably before I got on board, probably before 2015.
16, I want to say, is they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, 16 they didn't make the playoffs. With the years they made it, it's probably before 2015. Because 2015 they hosted
Let me see.
I think 2015 they hosted a playoff game against Classical.
2015 they did.
14.
2014, I want to say they went on the road. They went on the road to Franklin Christian.
Okay.
2014.
Okay, so 2014, that's the last time that they've played in the semifinals as the road team. So first time in a while in 6 years, and that's assuming everything goes
Sometimes
according
it be
to plan.
like that.
Yep. But congratulations to South Haven. They're going to get a first round bye if they win against Sacred Heart on Friday. And that is at home for them. As for CCS, they do not have a divisional game on Friday, but they have one that I believe that has happened. Did you get the stat on that? Has it been since 2008 that they played Franklin Classical?
No, they did not play them in 2014.
Okay, so almost every year since
Yes.
2008, so just 1 year missed on that. And
Let me see if they played them in 2013. It's a good question. I know they played them in 12. I believe they played them in 12. Yeah, 2014 they didn't play them.
then in 2015,
2013 they did not play them.
Okay.
And let me double check 2012. I know in 2011 they did because we lost to them.
So at the very minimum, 2014 forward, they've played them every year since then. But that'll
They
be
did not play them. They did play them in 2012.
okay. So 2012, at least 2014 forward, they played them every single season.
Yes.
But again, congratulations to South Haven and both South Haven and Christian Community active for Friday night. All right, time to pull up the playoff picture for everybody watching on the broadcast. Got it in front of me. You guys have it on your broadcast there, and this is what we were looking at for the playoffs as of October 4th. So right now, that game between Lancaster Christian and Franklin Christian is more than likely determines who's going to be the number 1 seed in the South and who will have to host in the first round and then travel to South Haven if they win against whoever it is there. So Lancaster and Franklin Christian.
Why is it so dark? Just asking.
It's gray. It's gray. It's just so it's easier on the eyes. But anyways, second seed in the South, again, that's between Lancaster, Franklin Christian. Technically, Riverside can be in the mix there. But as of now, if the season were to end today, going off of win-loss, it would be Ezel Harding as the number 3 seed because they are 1 win and 1 loss, and Riverside is 1 win and 2 losses in the South. So that's at least as of today. But, of course, season doesn't end today. Riverside would still has a chance to get into the playoffs depending on how their last few games here in the South go. Especially
Riverside will get in the playoffs.
according to your predictions, of course.
I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, it's more than likely, but it depends on how Ezel already plays, especially with that overtime win against
I'm
Franklin
allowed to have an
Classical.
opinion.
No, you
okay?
are. here's the interesting thing. Ezo Harding getting that win against Franklin Classical, that could also shake some things up in terms of the third seed. So we'll have to see how it plays out and how the win losses go for the rest
Riverside
of the South.
has Ezel Harding. See, here's my question: does Providence count for postseason?
No, it
record?
does not,
Okay.
because they're postseason ineligible.
Okay, but they're still in the division.
Technically they're still
But
in the
that's
division.
what I'm saying. The conference needs to address that,
Yeah, well,
or at least tell the member schools.
Well, remember we had that conversation with the league vice president before the season. He mentioned they're ineligible, and he directly said it does not affect the playoff.
Okay, so
seed.
they did answer it.
Yeah, they answered it. For
Yeah,
us,
they told
so.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, so they told us. So they just didn't address it, publicly.
So
on
if
their
Riverside
Facebook page
beats
or
Ezel
anything.
Harding 2-2, Ezel Harding would be 2-2
Mhm.
head to head. Riverside got it. Okay. Bless you.
Yeah, this is part of why.
Bless you.
I will get cough buttons for this
Coronavirus.
at some point.
Bless
Nope,
you.
just a sneeze. But yes,
Corona.
2-2. If Ezel Harding wins, though, that's a big question. What happens if Ezel Harding wins that game against Riverside?
So if Ezel Harding wins that game, they will move to 2-1. Of course, that game happening next week, I believe.
Not next week. Ezel Harding and Riverside plays on October 16th, and then Ezel
That's
Harding.
next week.
Well,
This week is October
this-
9th.
talking about looking forward.
We're
you're
looking
correct.
forward.
Anyways, so Ezel Harding has and the final week of the regular season they host Lancaster Christian. So it would come down to that. If Ezel Harding wins out their South games, and it might.
So right now they're 1-1. If they
they
beat
would be
Riverside, they'll
3-1.
be 2-1,
Mhm.
and then they'll go in against Lancaster. Okay.
If they win that game against Lancaster, they would be 3-1. So that would. Beg
Well,
the
it doesn't
question.
matter if they beat Lancaster or not. If they beat Riverside,
Well,
because Riverside at this point is
they're 1-2.
yeah.
If Ezel Harding beats Riverside, or beats Riverside,
Riverside goes to 1-3. Ezel Harding would be
2-2.
2-2. Yeah, or no, 2-1.
They'd be 2-1 because it's the 5 teams, 4 games that determine that. So it would
So,
be 2. So it'd
even
be
if
2-1,
Ezel
yeah.
Harding loses, they're 2-2. Riverside's 1-3. They're in.
Yep.
And then Ezel Harding would travel to CCS more than likely.
Yep. So Ezel Harding.
I'm praying. Not praying. My opinion, I think Riverside CCS would be the better playoff game.
Who
just my
knows? I mean, who knows? But again,
I'll tell you one thing about Ezel Harding. Okay,
Yep.
right now they're 2-3. They're going to beat Sacred Heart, and they're going to split the games with Riverside and Lancaster. They're not going to win both of them, and
What does that make
there's
them?
a chance. Well, if they were to split the games and beat Sacred Heart, that does put them at 4-4. But anyways, I
Mhm.
digress. I doubt that they win both of the games, and then they go to 3-5. So, anyways,
it depends on how it shapes out. But that's at least for the South. That's a potential situation that could happen. But it all depends on that Ezel Harding Riverside game as well as Franklin Christian Lancaster. Depends on how all of that shapes out. As for the North, because of the remaining games in the North, no seeding has officially been clinched. But essentially, South Haven, with that win over Christian Community, they will host the first round bye. They
in
just have
terms
to.
of James's predictions,
In
it's
terms
been
of James'
clinched.
predictions, yes, they just have to get the job done against Sacred Heart on Friday. If they get the job done, South Haven is officially number 1 seed. Of course, if Sacred Heart is ineligible, then yes, they've clinched the seed and those playoff seeds are locked. Christian Community, number 2 seed. They have to hope that Sacred Heart, they have to hope that Sacred Heart gets the upset against South Haven Christian School, because if that's the case, and then Christian Community wins against Lighthouse, then they're the same record in the North, and then it does go to head-to-head, but depends on how that goes, because it would be a triangle of Sacred Heart beating
That's
South
like-
Haven,
No,
South
whoa,
Haven
whoa,
beating
whoa.
Christian Community.
That's like
But-
a
Christian Community beating
Lizzo-sized
Sacred Heart.
butt.
No,
okay?
no. But what happens is you go to first head-to-head against the teams, correct?
It is overall record in the division.
Yes.
Head-to-head competition, and then coin toss. But the problem is, with that situation, it would be if Sacred Heart beats South Haven, Sacred Heart beats
But-
South Haven beats Christian
Yes.
Community, and then Christian Community beats Sacred Heart. It'd
Yeah,
be a three-way
yes,
coin
yes.
toss.
Christian
But-
Community already beat Sacred Heart.
They did.
Yes, but wait. But I'm pretty sure it's only if there's a 3-way tie and you do the triangle thing. If there's only a
Yeah.
2-way tie, it's just the head-to-head between the two teams.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right, because they lost to Lighthouse in that regard. You're right. So if South Haven wins against
I know I'm right.
Sacred Heart there,
You're not right, James. I'm right.
It'd
Okay.
it would be a two-way tie.
speaking for you.
It would be a
Thank you.
two-way tie. So
I'm Paul Heyman. I'm Paul Heyman and Paul Heyman. I'm
But
acting like Paul Heyman for you.
as of now, because the North games still remain, nothing is officially 100% clinched. But we will get there very soon. But as it looks, South Haven would have the first round bye. Christian Community would have the first round game, still hosted at May Flanders Field, which is also the site for the state championship this year. And number 3 seed, because of the tiebreaker, it would be Lighthouse in the playoffs. So every team that you see on the bracket there in the North, they're officially in the playoffs because of their because each of them have one win against another. So at this point, Sacred Heart, even whether it's eligibility or not, would not be able to get into the postseason. All they can do is try to affect the seeding.
Exactly.
So that's what we're looking at the playoffs right now.
Play the role of spoiler.
Yep. That's what we're looking at right now.
That's a 40-minute recap.
Yep. After this weekend, next week, it gets more clear. In the next 2 weeks, it gets way more clear in the TSIAA postseason. So now we get into our continued regularly scheduled programming with the man himself, the
That was our
producer
regular
of the show.
schedule programming.
We continue into our already scheduled programming, is
gotcha.
what I said.
My mistake. My mistake.
Sound off with Mr. Jack Helwig to give us
Producer Jack.
Producer Jack giving us a
Coming
big
off-
stretch.
Coming off his 0-1 performance against Emmanuel Dang.
Listen, I was very excited. You just had to bring me.
Oh
down.
wait. Okay. In his defense, Dang was wearing cleats and he was wearing tennis shoes.
Listen,
In his defense, Dang had just scored 5 touchdowns and played. Well, he only played a half
my
because they
defense,
pulled him
I
on the
haven't played in 2
sidelines. If they would have left him on the field, it'd have been 100 to 12.
Yeah.
It'd have been disgusting.
So
So in your defense, he did rest. In his defense, he did rest for a half, but he also went out in the first half and scored like 5 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, and like I said, to be fair, I wasn't wearing cleats and I haven't played in a couple of years. But I think either way, he probably still would have.
To be
me.
fair,
Hey,
Dang
so
only had
good.
about a 70-yard
You know who
touchdown.
we need? You know who we need? We need Manny Dang versus Crutcher Ezel versus Andrew Hasley from FCA.
Versus Jack Helwig.
Bet
You know what?
for charity, bro.
for charity,
Here-
yes.
Okay, here's the thing.
The charity
If I
of,
actually-
of,
if I
of
actually had
Jack's
cleats and
medical
trained for
bills.
Listen. I will put it right now. If we can get these other 3 to agree to this,
You'll
get
put
it
on
somehow
cleats.
school together, and I put on cleats, and we make this like a serious thing. If I lose, because I'm so confident in myself, I'll donate $100 to charity, to whatever charity that you 3 can agree on. Okay? Not kidding.
Let the players agree on it.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let the players
Leave
agree
us
on
out
it.
of
It's
it.
not
You
about
know
us.
what? Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Leave
Hey,
us out of
whatever
it. Let the
3
players
goes.
decide what
let
charity.
them agree. Yeah.
Okay, how about if I lose, the winner of whoever wins between the 4 of us gets to choose? That seems fair.
All right,
but
bet.
that's
Winner,
if
yeah.
them 3 can agree and we can get
Yeah,
it.
If we can make this happen,
Oh, yeah.
could happen in Gatlinburg.
The winner doesn't have to do the one-chip challenge. If Jack wins, he doesn't have to do the one-chip
When are
challenge.
we doing the one-chip challenge again?
I don't know.
We'll
Whenever-
figure-
I think we
figure that out later.
decided. Oh yeah, we decided once all of our social media gets to 1,000 followers,
That's
like Twitter,
true.
so
Facts.
YouTube, all that. We're at 737
facts.
on YouTube right now, 930 on Instagram. I think Facebook is like still 500 something.
Yeah.
And Twitter is about 600,
Look
680,
at you with the stats.
something like that. Well, because I'm looking, because I'm ready to prepare for when you guys.
You know
have to
who
do the
has
one-chip
more
challenge.
followers than us on social media?
Who's that?
Trace McSorley.
You keep mentioning that. Anyways,
We only have 16 followers on TikTok. Come on,
anyways,
guys.
sound off with producer Jack Helwig. What did you see from this week?
Well, first, let's go. Okay, I'm not going to do that. So, you know, we
Do it,
alwa-
but put the mic further from your mouth.
let's get into the sound off. Okay.
Stick taps for producer Jack.
So, as I looked at the game and everything like that we went to, first of all, an absolute blowout. And one thing that I took a note of is we pointed this out, and we have pointed this out throughout the season. CCS is a running team. They stick things on the ground. So tell me why they go out and they try to throw the ball, not once, but twice, and what results in 2 interceptions. From an outside point of view, I don't know what was going on the sidelines. As James says, I digress. But it's just you are a team that is known to run the ball and has great succession with it, and is why you are a playoff team. So I don't understand why you don't stick to that, because now you're playing from behind, which we all can agree on CCS does not do well on. CS is a team that goes in strong, and then keeps that lead and then likes to power through and then keep that lead for the rest of the game to win. So once they're down from behind, the game was over as it was already. So the fact that they went in and tried to throw the ball, which is not their identity, it's just poor play calling that led to their defeat. And now if CCS and the Patriots were to go against each other in the championship, who knows what's going to happen? Probably going to be another blowout.
They'll
From
score.
what we saw.
They'll score 100.
What's the highest scoring championship ever? It's the highest combined 2017.
Isn't it the one you guys
61-58. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the highest combined score one was in 2017. South Haven and CCS 61-58. So that one was was combined 100 points. But one team scoring 100 points, I don't think we've seen that yet. We've seen that in a while. But anyways.
And, you know, I if you guys watched last week, I hope you guys did. But I looked at my main topic was the fact that I did not see CCS being the number one in the North. And we come into this week, and as you can see on your screens right now, CCS is not number one in the North. And, you know, as we can see, they've clinched a playoff berth. Spencer said seeding is succumbed to change, but we can pretty much say that the Patriots are going to be number one in the North because they are probably the best team that we've seen consistently all around, defense, offense, special teams. They play a good game of football.
Mm-hmm.
Except for FCA, who beat them, but
Yeah,
But that was and the other factor you have to think
completely
about
threw
that as
off
well.
the original plot of the story.
Yeah,
but in the great words of James Shannon, are you gonna say your line?
But I
He's got-
digress.
There we go.
I paused for dramatic effect, sir.
Understandable. You know, I actually want to open the floor up to Zachary, who is commentating this game. You made a comment.
Let's
and
pull you
I
into
don't
this.
I don't know if this was whenever the hotspot was down and things were, because we had a very tough time. By the way, we had one dislike during the broadcast, which was well deserved.
That's well deserved.
Yeah.
We deserve like 15 dislikes.
We did not
We
deserve
deserved more dislikes than we had likes.
It was it was an ugly broadcast for an ugly game. Just
Yeah.
saying.
But we have
A
some
pretty game
very
for South
loyal
Haven, but
fans, which we all appreciate.
shout out to you guys.
Yes.
20 of y'all hanging with us.
Yes.
You pointed out the fact that they really needed to get the ground game going whenever they threw that second interception, and then it seemed like once they were down from behind and they tried running the ball, what was your how did you feel once they were down? Like, if this is a team that goes behind in the playoffs and stuff like that, do you think they have the capabilities in order to post a comeback against any team that you see here in this playoff bracket?
No, because this offense is built to play from ahead. So what they did the first two drives, the interception came on a 3rd and long, and it was a throw, and it was a crossbody throw in the middle of the field. Never should have happened. But the second one came on 4th down, so they had to throw it in that situation. So it was 4th and long.
Yeah.
So that one, I understood the 4th down one, but no, with their offense, they can't, because they are so built on the run that if they go down 14, 20 points, it's almost impossible, because they're built to bleed clock and to methodically drive their way down the field.
And here's the thing, even like in the very first game that we covered, whenever they did have a lead against the Tennessee Heat, who really is, again, one of the best teams that we've seen, to be honest, they choked away their lead there. So it kind of just, I look at CCS and I see how they didn't have a lead against the Patriots, who are one of the best teams, and it was a burial. And then they have an 18-point lead against the Heat, I think. It was 18.
It was 14.
It was 14, and they also had a lead against Freedom, if you remember, too.
Yep.
Yes. So it's just, how much of a lead do you need going into the playoffs as CCS in order to secure a win?
Well,
because we can establish if they're from behind, they've lost.
except for this week, their defense has been incredible all year.
Yes, I will give
So-
complete credit to their defense is very solid. Their quarterback play for a team that doesn't run the ball is also very solid. But
So, like, what's concerning me for CCS right now is this was about the point in the year where I picked, and I told you, I said, this is about the point where their offense is going to start clicking. Their offense hasn't clicked yet. And if it stays like this, they don't have a shot, because even though their defense is so well, the first two drives this Friday night, they had the ball at the 40 and the 36-yard line of South Haven, and they didn't move the ball 1 yard.
And let's preface this, CCS has had a lot of success over the last few years.
yes,
3 state championship games in a row.
Yes.
4 state championship games in 5 years.
Yes, and it looks like they could be going back to another state championship.
It is
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, anything's
But let me say,
possible when it comes
but
to
let
the
me say
playoffs.
this: it's just like whenever Alabama starts to fall off, at some point they will fall off. They already kind of have started to.
Yes.
When you have been at the top for so long, when you start to fall off, just know that there's going to be criticism coming with it.
Yes.
And don't be a big baby about it. Just take it, suck it up, and say, hey, listen, we're going to get back to where we are, or where we were. We're going to get back to that point. The future is bright. I said it Friday night. They've got a lot of talent coming up.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's just young.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about this, we're looking at this year only.
Yep.
In 2 years, this CCS team is going to be almost undefeated team. I'd pick them to go undefeated in 2 years.
Well,
no
they've
doubt
got
about it.
such a strong farm system.
Yes.
With the middle school team, that their quarterback this year, the guy that caught their 2 touchdowns the other night, both their running backs, all have come from JV.
And even the fact that, like, you said, like, this is a team that's very young and that it comes with struggles and things like that. This is a team that's still young and could possibly go to the championship
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
with all their struggles that they have. So you're telling me this team wouldn't be good a year, 2 years from now, and
Exactly.
they're still competitors. It's nothing like they're a bad team. I'm not saying they're bad because we've seen bad.
They have gotten better each time they got on the field this year. Even Friday night, there's glimpses of hope.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
there was just times where it was just mistakes that young teams make against South Haven, and then South Haven just capitalized on them. That's all that
Yeah.
happened.
FCA did in that game, and then FCA quit making the mistakes.
Yes.
That's all you had to do. Just correct your issues, correct your mistakes, and they didn't do that Friday.
Anything else you got, Jack?
I'll just leave it at this. I'll ask the question that I asked last week, or that me and James had a little debate about. Deuce Bragg versus the Colts. Who do you think can win that game? You still taking the Colts? Because you really disliked me.
Big determining factor. Is that on the 40 by 80 or is that on the 50 by 100?
Let's
Big facts.
Let's do 40 by 80.
Colts.
I'm taking
think-
Colts because I'm sorry. I know you're talking to James, but I'm taking the Colts because Lancaster's offense is designed to spread you out. So that's why they struggle on the smaller field, because those extra 20 yards, 50 by 100 field, those 20 extra yards are like, oh, that's not much. That's
it's
a
a big
that's a big difference.
So we can agree if it's a 50 by 100, then
I'm taking Lancaster.
Well, and history's already proven that Lancaster wins on a fit. They played CCS at home last year and absolutely whooped them.
and
So
do you think this CCS team is worse than it was last year? We can all agree
Yes.
on. Okay. So, and this Lancaster team is better than last year's, if we can say.
I would
Maybe?
say
I'd say
I
they're
would say they're the
experienced.
same. They've got more experience and the guys have gotten older, but they have lost some players.
Okay.
Due to graduation, and then some guys that I don't even know where they are, where they're at. They just dropped off the map.
Yeah. It happens.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to give a general, like, if we're gonna do a power ranking of CCS and where we're
We don't
putting
do power
them.
rankings.
No,
I
we
know,
leave
I'm
that to
not
NHSA. They have power rankings for all the 8-man teams.
They have some solid power
Who
rankings.
do they got the Tennessee Heat at right now? Top 4?
Hold on. I got
Probably
you.
have that pulled up before every show. But I wonder what the latest bracket says. Hank St. Dennis and all
let
the
me get it.
yeah, Hank St. Dennis and all of the NHSA guys do a great job with doing the poll rankings and everything.
Yeah, that's a true multi-person poll.
I would love to see the Tennessee
that has
Heat.
a lot of I don't know. I like it a lot. All right, so right now, Ezekiel Academy is number 1, Tennessee Heat's number 2, Evangel's number 3, the Pack Panthers, who are 5-0 out of Columbia, South Carolina, are 4.
Yep.
And then Destiny Christian out of Oklahoma is 5. Franklin Christian is number 6. Lighthouse Homeschool number 7. John Paul Academy out of Louisiana is number 8. Russell Christian at 9. And Evangel Montgomery is at number 10. That's your top 10.
Where did you say Tennessee Heat were?
Number 2.
They're
South
second.
Haven is
As
number
they should.
12. Riverside is number 13.
Huh.
Okay.
Sounds like
I
there's some
mean,
good teams in
is
Tennessee.
that
Where's
the-
Lancaster? They've got Lancaster at 16.
Huh.
They've got Christian Community at 15. Freedom Cowboys at 14.
Hey, I mean, you got to understand with those rankings, they're meant to have. Sometimes the rankings are meant to have a little bit of controversy.
That's
you know.
true. That's
It's the
true.
same
I'll
thing,
give
but-
them that. Oh, I'm not questioning them. I'm just
Right.
saying. I'm
You're
just
wondering.
And
why
in
this
the
low?
Christian Community Lancaster thing, Christian Community beat Lancaster last week, so that's why the power rankings are like that. I'd almost say.
Oh yeah,
guarantee.
no. Well, yeah. I can see that.
But
But
yep.
Christian Community is 3-3. Lancaster's 3-1. But Christian Community has also played 6 games. Lancaster's played 4. So.
Yep. Yeah, Lancaster undefeated except for that loss on the road against Christian.
Do you want to
Community.
know where the other schools in
Sure.
our coverage map are at? Franklin Classical at 21, at 1-3. Easel Harding at 22. Lighthouse Christian at 35. Providence at 36. Sacred Heart at 38, and Bowling Green at 42, and that's out of 44 teams.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rankings,
44
but,
teams that NHSA keeps up with.
Yeah, that would be to see Ezekiel and the Tennessee Heat possibly collide for a national championship. That would be one of the games of the year.
If
That would be incredible.
so, looking at, I don't know, just looking at potential games in Florida. I mean, there's a lot of good teams this year. Franklin Christian's never been to Florida.
No,
and they've never been to Dayton either. So
I'm sure that Tim Johnson, their 80 there, Wayne Smith, the Hugh Harrison company. I'm sure they would. Well,
Hugh Harris would go to Florida in a heartbeat.
The only issue with it
if
is
they
because
win the title.
The only issue with it is because
well,
of
no,
the
they can't.
they can't. Yeah,
they can't.
TSIAA schools can't. That's the issue. So the only ones that could go are those who are out of the playoffs.
Do you think there's a potential to where TSIAA, if a team does get in, they push it back a week?
No, because the week after that is Thanksgiving.
The 2 weeks?
2 weeks. They'd go deeper into December. I mean, they could do it. I mean, it's the question of if TSIAA is willing to do that. But the issue is, we actually had this conversation with Coach Bragg. He mentioned, at least, now this is a one-case scenario. It doesn't blanket all of it. But Coach Bragg mentioned that his school administration is that they'll go to nationals if they win the state title. And in that case, they can't do that because the state title is after nationals.
I don't think they win the state title, if I'm being honest.
Lancaster?
Well, I mean, you're saying that now. I'm not talking about if they win or not. What I'm saying is their administration would only send them to nationals if they won the state.
They're not the kind of team where it's like, even if they have a close loss in the state championship, they're still going to go.
Right, and that's the issue that all the TSIAA schools have is, would an administration
right now
send them to
the only ones that could go to Florida would be the ones who lose in the first round,
or if the Division II championship is pushed back, big if.
Well, Riverside. So really, Riverside could go,
assuming that they get into Division II.
I hate the way the scheduling has to be this year.
Yeah, it's because of coronavirus. I mean, ultimately, is what it comes down to. But it is what it is.
It's because of what?
It's because of coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all right.
But regardless.
Goodness, it's already 4:57.
Thank you, Jack, for your sound off there, and we're starting to go over. We're starting to go over now. Almost.
I think we could carry a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, but
especially once we start adding Alabama teams in our coverage map.
Oh yeah, we could. We easily could. But at least for now, we tried to keep it to an hour, but it'll be over at about an hour 15 as we go through.
Hour 30.
Hour 30. As we go through week 8 of 11, the playoff picture comes a little bit more clear in terms of the North. The South, October 16th is when it comes clear. But let me read off the names of the schools who are inactive for you this week. Go ahead, James.
Can I say this? If we went an hour and 30, it'd be an hour and 15 minutes more of 8-man football coverage.
That is true.
Of the best 8-man football coverage in this state.
Taking low blows at some people, man. I know.
I know they're still there. I'm not saying they're bad. I said we are the best, and I'm allowed to have confidence that we're the best until we get proven otherwise.
Yeah, you're allowed to have confidence in that. All right, let me read off the names of the schools that are on a bye week for you. I remember doing this last year when every single school was inactive, but Lighthouse, Easel Harding, Franklin Christian, Lancaster Christian, Providence Christian, Riverside Christian, and the Bowling Green Warriors. Out of the teams we cover, they are all inactive. You hate to see it, but at the same time, players do need rest, especially when that's the week that aligns with most schools' fall breaks. So
exactly,
no, can't argue with that on them. We'll start out with Christian Community and Franklin Classical as you follow along on your helmet schedules from top to bottom. We start with Christian Community and Franklin Classical School in Franklin. James, Zachary, your rock, paper, scissors for who gets to pick first. And this week
I defer.
Zachary snipped and James deferred. All right, so Christian Community, Franklin Classical, both teams coming off of tough losses, and both of them coming off of tough losses. Both of these teams have lost to Lancaster Christian. Christian Community, of course, losing on an in-division game, and Lancaster has never faced South Haven before, but this is a bounce-back game for both of these teams in terms of motivation and going into the postseason. Of course, Classical is going to go to Division II, and Christian Community, they'll host a playoff game, but it's one of those situations where, especially for Christian Community on the road, it's a good rivalry between the Knights and the Colts. At the end of the day, two of the youngest head coaches in the conference between Austin and Flanders. Can't remember if anybody else is around the same age as Flanders, but two of the youngest coaches.
I don't know how old Blankenship is.
Yep.
McGee is pretty young.
True,
I
but
think McGee is late 20s.
two coaches who are very young.
Alma mater coaches.
And alma mater coaches. That's what I was going to get into. Alma mater of the schools that they're coaching. So James, as an alma mater of CCS's football program, yourself, an alumnus, what do you think is going to happen on Friday night at Fred Lane Field?
Way past time for Isaiah and company to get a win there at Fred Lane Field. They were in danger of not being able to play there. They're finally allowed to play there, and they can't produce a win. That will change Friday night. FCS over CCS.
Ooh, that'll be an interesting one. Zach?
I think with all the injuries that FCS has piled up, I just can't see it. I think CCS takes the win this
You
week.
think CCS is pissed off enough? Mad enough about Friday?
I really do. Because there really wasn't any pushback Friday.
Yeah.
Like the whole game, I was waiting for there to be a pushback, and they scored the
Because
touchdown.
they've done it, yeah.
They've done it multiple times throughout this year. When we looked at film, yes, they have gone down a lot. They've gone down a lot this year, but there was a pushback, and there just wasn't a pushback. So I think Coach Flanders has them ready for Friday night.
Yep, and you saw it especially in the beginning of the season. They started out 0-2, and Flanders mentioned, "I'd rather our guys play those games," and then went
But
right
to
back.
be fair, they did get some lucky wins, in my opinion.
Fair. All right, you're free to have that opinion, but you guys are a split decision.
Even if
on
it's
this.
wrong. I'm just kidding.
You guys have a split.
I mean,
decision
I've been
on
wrong
this.
8 times this season, but
You
I've
have-
also been right 20 times. So
Yep.
small flex,
So, just a small flex.
But you haven't been right 21 times like me.
huh?
You haven't been right 21 times like me.
That's true. Looking forward to bringing that belt back to my house. Though.
Assuming Sacred Heart is eligible, they travel all the way to Springfield from Jackson to collide with the South Haven Christian School Patriots. And as it stands, it is a game that Sacred Heart can prolong South Haven's chances of getting that number 1 seed a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, if South Haven gets the win, they're officially number 1 seed in the North. And James, with the struggles, Sacred Heart is looking for their first win of the year, but South Haven just chugging right along. They've only taken 1 loss. Do they take their second loss on Friday?
You can say all this politically correct stuff, but have you heard of this guy named Andrew Crawley?
Yes.
Have you heard of this guy named Manny Dang?
Yes, and I don't know why I'm asking you for your prediction because you already said that.
I've
anyways,
already
but-
said it.
Yeah.
South Haven, big dub.
Zachary?
I'm taking South Haven.
All right. Fair enough.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
The
Love you, Sacred Heart.
Now,
Love you, Sacred Heart.
I have the acronym for the team, and I don't remember it because it's been so long since you talked about it at the beginning of the show. But
Success
Freedom
Unlimited Academy?
No. Freedom, the Freedom Cowboys, they collide with NRCS.
He's the one with the concussion.
He said Southern Unlimited, and that's not them.
Success Unlimited.
Yeah, Success Unlimited. That's who they
North
play.
River Christian.
North River Christian. So who you got with that game?
Freedom. Hands down.
Nothing else to say about it?
Well, North River's 1-3. Freedom's coming off a big win. They're 3-3. Cowboys.
All right.
They're going to saddle up and ride away with the win.
I'm taking Freedom as well. I think their win last week gave them a lot of confidence. And like CCS, they're a young team, and they both have good coaching. So I see them riding the wave.
Producer Jack?
Boring. Sorry.
Jeez.
There's no split ups today.
No, there was.
We've already had one.
Yeah, we
CCS
split on
Classical.
CCS
they
Classical.
split decision.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you pay attention, Producer Jack?
Listen, when
It's an
not my
offside.
segment-
Why don't you produce, Producer Jack?
He just said when it's not his segment, he's snoring. That explains it.
I mean, hey.
I guess that's fair since I snore during your segment.
So I guess that explains it. Well, last year we made
Hey.
our yes.
Can I interject?
You always do, but go ahead again.
So, oh, never mind. They're the Chargers. I was gonna say if North River was the Warriors, then if you're allowed to say jousting match, then can I say it's gonna be Cowboys versus Indians Friday night?
Sure. I mean, you can. You can because that's historical, or you could say versus versus natives.
Cowboys versus Indians.
I mean, you can say that.
And it's not the thank you for calling customer support Indians. It's the yeah. Anyways.
So on Friday we head down to Alabama for only the third time.
Dad joke flex.
Yeah, we head down to Alabama with a full broadcast for only the third time in 8-Man Extreme's history.
Yeah, that's real funny.
You know what I'm
there,
jabbing
Spence.
about. You know what I'm jabbing about.
That's real funny there. Yes, we were going to do Ezekiel Russell last year.
And then
I got to the Alabama state line and remembered that I forgot
the
the
yep.
laptop.
Well, no, I called you and said, hey, you forgot the laptop back.
And at that point, I remembered I forgot the laptop.
At that point, yeah. But regardless, they were gracious host to us when we went there last year in their collision for what was a preview of the NHSA National Championship game when they hosted the Ezel Harding Eagles. And now we're headed down there again for what's set to be, could be a preview of the National Championship. Depends on how things
Could
go
be
down.
a.
But the Tennessee Heat coming all the way from Mount Juliet. We will be there for their collision with the Evangel Christian School Lightning. They're clapping just because of my pronunciation of Mount Juliet. Sheesh.
No, you're still messing. It's
Joliet.
It's Mount Juliet, not Mount Juliet.
Who cares? Okay.
You sound like King Julian.
All hail the New York Giants. But the collision between the Lightning and the Tennessee Heat.
What?
You said I sound like King Julian. And I did an impression of King Julian.
Tough crowd today.
Oh, goodness. We have too much fun here. Regardless, Tennessee Heat, Evangel Christian School Lightning. In the Tennessee Heat, of course, they are coming off a bye week. They are rested and ready to go. And as for Evangel, of course, they had that tough loss against Ezekiel Academy in an in-conference game. Again, this might be a situation again where we're going to a preview of the national championship. End of the day, someone's got to make a pick on this, even though we're really excited to head down to, I believe it's Alabaster, Alabama is where their field is, or close around that suburb there. But, James.
Well, no, it's the school's in Alabaster, like the headquarters.
Yep.
The field is in Montevallo. Fun fact, they've never played.
Yeah, the Heat and Evangel,
Heat
they have
never played
once
each other.
played, so first time between them. So, James, end of the day, you got to make a pick on this, even though all four of us are traveling on Friday. It's going to be a fun road trip. But, James.
Maybe some Instagram live action.
Oh, absolutely.
Be sure to stay tuned. I picked them to go unbeaten.
That is true.
So, Tennessee Heat. I love you, Evangel. I love you, especially if they're not able to get their starting quarterback back. Tennessee Heat.
Zachary?
It'll be the first time a Tennessee team went to Alabama and won in a while.
Last time.
When was the last time? As he looks up that stat, Zachary's prediction.
Go
Last
Balls.
time I wait, give me a second. Never mind. This is a tough one. They're both really, really good teams. Wow. Wow.
Tried to sneak it there. Anyways. There he goes. There he goes.
It didn't register until right then.
And then he was like, "Oh, he's staring at me. Oh, I'm supposed to yawn."
No, I didn't realize you said it until.
Said what? Said what, Zach?
He said it.
Said
I
what?
am going to. I don't know. The Heat are really, really talented.
Hang on, let me get my
As
hood
we've
on. Pick opposite of me.
we've seen multiple times. Evangel. Oh, I think I am. I think I'm going to pick opposite of James. I think I'm going to go Evangel.
All right, 2 split decisions this week. So you can either take 9 losses on the year, or you could take 2 victories ahead of James.
You know who always wins?
Who?
Trace McSorley.
Oh, you keep mentioning it. You keep
Wait,
mentioning
what was
that,
his
but-
name? Sorry, that was a last week
Oh,
joke.
yeah, Leighton Vander Esch was his name.
Wow.
But here we go. Here we
Living
go,
in the
ladies and gentlemen.
past.
Yes. All right,
Pretty
Jane.
much.
All right. Well,
Still
Isn't
funny.
he in Middle Tennessee?
I think so.
Or is he in Providence?
Here's what I wonder: if White House isn't in Middle Tennessee, is Springfield?
What about Bowling Green? I thought.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Are they even in our division?
Yeah, are they even in the division? No, I don't know. I do not know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we head down to Evangel for the second time in A-Man Extreme's history for a collision with the Tennessee Heat. The other games going on. We'll try to keep you as updated as possible for the Tennessee High School football app this Friday, assuming we have reliable score keepers to send us updates. And
Y'all can just send updates at the end of the quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be helpful. Come on, help out with that.
And then I believe this is the first time since week 1. Well, you can kind of play with me on this, James. That all 4 of us have really been together for a broadcast.
Yep.
Going together as
No big facts.
I would say you were with us week 1 during Tennessee.
I was there
Heat,
for a little bit.
Yeah.
You were there week 2.
I was not though.
No, he wasn't
wasn't
there
there.
for week 2.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was
So
there.
I'm saying
So.
all 4 of us.
He
the
was getting that
actual-
bread.
I said I need to, honestly.
Yes, it'll be fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to be driving back through the night.
Be fun.
Yeah, and we'll once we get done with the game, we'll be driving back through the night.
Our
get
trip
here.
back will be sponsored by Bang. Not a sponsor, could be.
Yeah,
Hit us
could
up.
be. It could be. Unless someone wants to put up hotel rooms for us. Don't think they will,
No.
but unless someone wants to put up hotel
Let's
rooms.
just drive back.
Yeah, no. I know.
Logistic troubles.
All right,
Logistics
all right. Your usual shout-outs, James.
Is that all the games?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
I'm
told
looking at all
you.
my
there-
predictions. So how
yeah.
many? There's what, 4 games?
Yes. Only 4 games. Yeah.
I predict
So-
I go
6 teams. Well, technically
1 and
7
3.
teams active. You predict you're going 1 and 3?
for
I predict I'm going 4-0, hands down.
Always does.
All right, listen, 5 and 1's a good rebound from 3 and 2.
That is true. Your usual shout-outs, anything?
Spencer's great interviews with coaches. Who you interviewing this week?
Might get Ryan. Well, we did Ryan Scott on the show earlier, so we got Coach Collins earlier. Austin's already done.
Hey, let's see who leads a surprise.
Why are you asking if you want it to be a surprise?
I don't know. I'm just
You
saying.
mentioned you already called out. You should do Sawyer's on the show. You did that last week and didn't do
And
a
then,
surprise.
okay, well, now I'm saying it should be a surprise.
All right. I got an idea of probably who I'll
All
interview.
right, bet.
Yeah, I got an idea. So
No, not really. Shout out to Evangel for being very, very generous last year. Very, very hospitable.
rolled out the red carpet for us. 100%.
I bet you they still will Friday night, even though we didn't pick them.
Oh yeah.
I picked him.
Well, you picked
Well,
them.
you
I didn't pick
did.
'em.
They'll roll out the red carpet for you. James they'll say he has to stay in the car the entire time.
I'll stay in the car. Trust me.
They just won't let won't
That's
let
a
him in the
4-hour
stadium.
nap. Bet.
He'll just stay in the car and he'll produce from the car. He'll call in a second, be like, guys,
I'll
you
have
gotta fix it.
I'll have it like on the phone and be like, guys,
Fix.
fix.
It's gonna be fun. Any shout outs, Zachary?
We need to find where Darren Waller's been the past 2 weeks.
NFL stuff. Okay.
Yes, he's crushed my fantasy team. He's like literally he carried me 2 weeks ago, and now he just stopped showing up. I'm gonna have to bench him next week.
Anything, producer Jack?
I would like to, once again, I will give the same shout-out I did last week. Shout-out to a very special guy that I know personally who actually put up 3.5 points against the worst rushing defense in the NFL, Kenyon Drake. And the reason I'm so upset about it is because my opponent started Chase Edmonds, who is the backup, who had 12 points. And I need Allen Robinson to basically have like 30 points today.
Can I give another shout out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like to give a shout out to Trace McSorley.
Kenyon Drake, you're getting.
It's a
drilled.
good. It's a good thing the producers handling the mic.
You know, if he was really
I
good
would have
at
cut
producing,
you off.
if he was really good at producing, he would have muted me right when I started to say Trace McSorley.
There you go. Now he's cut off. Now he's cut off.
Dadgummit.
Now he's cut off. There you go.
At least I got Trace in.
Trace. All that's you'll hear on the broadcast is Trace.
McSorley.
Oh goodness. All right. Now, all right. Well.
You will learn. You will get better, young Padawan.
Well, it's that. It's the end of the show. That does it for Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way, and by Jets Pizza of Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, Goodlettsville. Let's get Jets on behalf of Jack, Zach, and James. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you Friday for Tennessee Heat at the Evangel Lightning. See ya!